So today we're going to talk about the Oculus Platform command line utility and how to use that with Unity 2016 in particular, but across the board how to use it. And this is kind of great. It's going to help you upload quick and get your builds out there fast. And then even better, it's going to show you if they're not going through so you can quickly, fix it up. So for Unity 2016, there's a couple extra steps. We're going to go through that now. So this is the website to download it. Google search for Oculus Platform Command Line Utility, or you can try to see this URL. But either way, come here. We're going to download and do this demo in Windows, but they have it available for Mac OS X as well. So once that's downloaded, it's going to download, in the case of Windows, an exe file. Go ahead and find that on your computer. In my case, I've put it in this build/utils folder. And you'll notice in place, if you type in OVR platform util.exe, and you get the commands. So that's looking good. That's piece one of the puzzle. Piece two is, I'm assuming folks have got to the point where they're able to build a development build on their computer and kind of mess around with things. So you've installed the Java JDK. So part two is we're going to need the Java JDK for a couple of tools. We're going to need key tool, and we're going to need jar signer. Now, if you can type in those two commands and they just come up like that, you're already good to go. If not, you might need to set up an environmental variable in your path. We'll go through that just real quick. So for Windows, go to the Start menu and type in Advanced, and then you'll see Change Advanced Startup Options. Select that. Excuse me, it's not quite right. Advanced System is what we're looking for. There it is, Advanced System Settings. So in this screen here, bottom right hand corner is Environmental Variables. Click that. And then in this screen, top window, look for Path. And when you see Path, double click that. And then on this screen here, this shows your environmental variables. So basically what this does is, in the case of what we're trying to do, if you type in the command key tool or you type in the command jar signed, anywhere from the command line, it'll work for you because it can find it in the path. So if you don't have your Java JDK in the path like I do here, you're going to want to add that in. I guess one way of finding that would be to go into your Unity project and then look at your settings. So let's load that up real quick. For this project, I've created almost a blank project called Oculus Publishing. So that's loading now. There it goes. Okay, so in this project, a couple things. I've installed the Oculus platform, new as of yesterday, and I've installed the Oculus tools as well. Underneath these settings, under Oculus platform, edit settings, this is where your project stuff should show up right here. So my app ID, for example, is going to be something different than your app ID. And same thing with the user token. So these are pieces of information we'll go get. But first, let's solve our pathing thing. So if you go to Edit, and you go to Preferences, and then go to External Tools, and scroll down. If your JDK is set up correctly, you should see a path here. And so if you follow this path, in my case, it's going to be eDrive, Program Files, Java JDK. So, excuse me, this is the path. In fact, you can probably left-click it and then highlight it all. You can press Control-A and then right-click, copy, come into this screen, and then hit New, and paste the path in. After you've done this, in my case, I've got it twice, so I'm going to just remove the other one real quick. You want it to say /bin. That's the other consideration, is that if you cut and paste that path, you're going to add /bin on the end of it. Okay? So once you have /bin on the path, exit out of your terminal just to make sure things set the way they should. So in my case, I'm going to go into a new terminal I've been using called Commander, CMDR, and I'm going to launch that again. This is kind of really cool. It looks nicer, and it actually has some like Linux commands mixed into it. But from here, now, if your path works correctly, you should be able to type in key tool from anywhere. and of course jar signer from anywhere. Jar signer from anywhere. Okay, so that works, and this is going to be important for some stuff we're going to do later. So if you're at this point, well done. On to the next steps. And so we'll go ahead and organize our windows a bit here. So once those things are in place, now we're going to fill out some information here. Yours might already be in there. I have to get mine. So I'm going to go to the Oculus dashboard. These are my apps, and I've created the Oculus publishing app just for testing because we're going to need some sensitive data. I'm going to go into the Get Started API button, and this is where my app ID is. We're going to need this for later. So I'm going to put another notepad over here so we can start building up some information that we're going to need. So app ID is going to be that. The other thing you're going to need while we're in here is the app secret. Now, I don't share this publicly for the sake of this video, totally fine, but yeah, that would be bad. Okay, so grab that number as well. Go ahead and paste that back to your notepad. So those will come in handy later. In the short term, we're going to need to place that. In this case, it's a GearVR app. Put that there. And then we're going to go to the publishing settings. Actually, I'm sorry. First, we're going to generate the key. Then we're going to go to the publishing settings. So step one of this thing is go to a directory on your computer where you want to store this key. Like I said, someplace you're not going to lose it. So in my case, I'm going to builds, and I'm going into keys. And here we have one of my keys. So I'm going to make a brand new key. So in order to make a brand new key, you got to run keystore utility. So here we go. Excuse me, key tool utility. Key tool. And then the first argument is going to be key, gen key, keystore. And then after keystore, you give it a name. So in this case, we're going to call it OP, and then name it, whatever you name it, put .keystore afterwards. And then dash alias. This is the plain text name for it. So in this case, we're going to call it OP. And then key alg is an algorithm in which it's going to encrypt, use RSA. And then key size, we're going to use 2048 because Google said it's a good idea. And then validity, and it works. And then the last argument is validity. And validity is going to be how long the certificate's good for. So if you want to make it like, so it's in days, so 1 year would be 365, add another 0, you can make it last for a very long time. So that should be fine. So once you have this argument in and you press enter, it's going to ask you for the password. This is a very important password as far as a key store goes. These would be hard to reset. So use something you're not going to forget and write it down probably. So I've entered the password twice. Now it asks you for a little bit of biographical information. So my name's Nathan Haskins. Organizational unit is, I guess, Bunny Gun. Company is Haskins Information Technology LLC. And then city is St. Louis, Missouri. Oh, spelled Missouri wrong. That's all right. So then two-letter country is going to be U.S. And then it asks you if you want to go back and edit anything. So since I misspelled Missouri, I'm going to type in ST, and then we're going to put in, actually that did something I didn't expect. So I'll hit enter, accept. Here we go. St. Louis, and then Missouri. So you can go back and edit these things if you need to. When you get to the end and it looks all good, type in yes. So that's going to ask you for one more key. I suggest probably using the same password. Keep it straight. And there you go. So now you've got your key store and your key. And these are the things that Unity is going to need to build, sign your APK. So if you look in the directory now, I'm not sure if you'll see it in File Explorer, but at least on command line, if you take a look, you'll see your key generated. In this case, we have op.keystore. So that's looking good. So from here, we need to go back to Unity. So in Unity, I'm going to go to the edit, and then we're looking for the project settings, or excuse me, player settings. And under player settings, look for publishing settings. Now in here, we want to use an existing key. So we're going to browse to that key, and this key is going to be the key we just created. So looking for my key stores are under build, and then under key store. OP in this case. So I hit OK there, and then it asks for the password. Go ahead and type that in. And then it'll kind of hang for a second. And then down here, it may say unsigned at first. Once it kicks in, go to your signed version of it. So in this case, I name that OP as well. And then type in that second password here. So in my case, I used the same password twice. So once that's configured, your key should be all set for creating your APK file. Now we're doing this in Unity 2016 this way because the key that it will generate, or the APK signing that it generates, is version 2. Oculus is looking for version 1. So we've generated a version 1 of that key signature to be compatible with this upload process. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. If you're using 5.6, I don't think you actually have to do the whole key tool jar sign thing. You might be able to just skip right to this part and create a new key. However you get here, the next step is go to File, go to Build, and then go ahead and, let's just check one other thing real quick. Make sure you have your company name filled out, your product name filled out, and then underneath the other settings, for good measure, you may want to just make sure virtual reality is checked. This isn't really an optimization tutorial, but if you download the platform tools, I recommend running the audit project for VR performance issues. Do that, and then under package name, make sure you put your package name. So that's going to be in the format of com.companyname.product name. In this case, I'm going to update these things, so we're going to call this OP, and then over here we're going to call this OP for the sake of example. I duplicated the project base, and then your Android minimum level. These are all things that really just go through the documentation to make sure you get, but Android 5 is going to be good for that. Version 1.0 and then bundle version 1 are all set. So with these things set, we're going to go ahead and build. In my case, I'm going to build to this folder right here, and we're going to save it as op.apk. Yeah, go ahead. So this is going to run. This will take just a moment because it's a very small test project. I actually went back and rebuilt from scratch Unity 2016 with the basic Oculus tools just to make sure I could get all this to work right, because it wasn't working right with my other projects. I also used the platform tools to generate the Android manifest file. So using that, it actually worked out really well. It just generated the file and it works straight off. I've had problems with that before, having to do with plugins in plugins in my project hierarchy. Sometimes there's an Android file in there that's no good. I had to get rid of one time. But if there's nothing in your Android's project folder as far as an Android manifest files go, this will generate a brand new file for you. So that'd be good. This is also something that you may think you've solved with your original test builds. For example, my test build worked fine when I was just testing it to my phone, but when it came time to upload to the store, it actually bounced back a couple times because there was problems with the Android manifest file. So I do recommend trying this process early as you possibly can, just to make sure that you can get your product to the store. I mean, that's really important. So yeah, this is almost done, and the next thing we're going to do is take this APK file and we're going to use jar signer to then sign the APK, because we weren't able to accomplish that from inside of Unity by default with version 1. So while that's going, I'm going to browse to the directory in which the file's output. So in this case, it's OP. So there's our op.apk file. Looks like Unity just finished. So now we're going to do jar sign, and jar sign is going to generate the APK signature that you need to release a product. This is basically your promise that your data is authenticated and you're saying you are who you say you are. So when you sign these files like that and send it up to Oculus, they can give it out with some assurance. So the trick to doing this one is a pretty long command. And what I recommend while we're doing this too is stack these commands up in a separate file. So for example, I'm going to write out the jar signer stuff right here. Jar signer. This is going to be verbose, so we can see what it does. And then sig. This is going to be something you probably want to cut and paste from the notes, because it's kind of gnarly here. So this is the algorithm, SHA1 with RSA. and then the that's going to be the digital algorithm, I think. I forget exactly what that argument is. Sorry guys, I just don't remember. And then dash keystore, and this is going to be the absolute path to your keystore location. Unless you happen to be working in the same directory, I like to just spell it out completely. So in this case, it's going to be :builds / keystores, and then it's going to be op.keystore. And then the next argument, actually I think that's all the arguments. So we've got set to verbose, we've got the encryption type, we've got the whatever that one is, digital sign or something, sorry. And then the key store is pointing at our key. So all those things are lined up, which is looking pretty good. So then the next thing we have to pass to it is going to be the path to the APK file. So after that, space, and then in my case it's going to be equal / build / op/op.apk. Alright, so with all that typed out, I'm going to cut and paste it in the command line. If I didn't type anything wrong, specify an alias. See, it looks like I already forgot one thing. So basically what I forgot to do is at the very end of that string, once you've typed in the absolute path, you want to type in the alias to it. So in this case it's going to be op. That's going to be a plain text version, just something simple as an alias. So we'll try that. We'll cut and paste this in and see what we get. So it's asking for that key again, or password for the key. So I'm typing in my password, and if it works, you're going to see it signed just like this. And that's the password from our other key. There's a warning here. I'm not sure we care necessarily, because my ticket's going to be good until it looks like 2117. You know, I hope it's platinum. I hope it goes on for 100 years, but you know, we'll see how it goes. So once it's signed, the next thing is to upload it to Oculus. So the trick to this one is going to be, you want to be in the same directory as your Oculus upload utility. So in my case, that's going to be build/util, I think. Yep, builds util. So go into the directory with your tool for Oculus uploading. And then this is going to be the path, this is going to be the command upload for GearVR. If you're uploading for Rift, it's a little different. And I'll just point out quickly that there's the documentation for this down here. So you can get a lot of the notes from this stuff on this page for reference. But for here, we're just going to type it in. Okay, works like this. Upload, or excuse me, it goes OVR platform, utility.exe. So that executes the command, but we're going to give it more arguments. So if that works and you see all the options come up, you're going to give it the path to your file, first of all. I mean, sorry, not first of all. First thing you have to do is give it the app's ID. And so earlier, we copied the app ID somewhere. But if you don't have it on hand, you can go back to your game and then go to your platform settings and then look for that ID you had there earlier. You could cut and paste that into here. The other way to do it too is go to the page on the Oculus Store and find it there. In fact, we're going to take a trip there in just a moment. Taking my own advice and adding this as another command down here, just in case there's a typo or anything. OVR platform-util. And what I like to do too is put the absolute path in front of it, so you can call this from anywhere, unless you add it to your paths files, of course. And that's another thing. Builds utils OVR platform.exe, and then -a is going to be the application ID. It's going to be that. So we'll take this and add it as an argument, and then the next argument, I think it's -s, is going to be your secret. So your secret is going to be found on your products page on the Oculus Store. Just from the top, we'll go to, this is me logged in, down here. I'm looking at the dashboard of my products. So here's the product I'm working on. I'll go to Edit Details, and then on the left-hand side, look for Get Started API. There's your app ID, and then here's your secret. Now don't go sharing this with anybody. This particular project is going to be gone by the time you see the video, so it's no problem here. But pop your password in, and it will give you this key. I'm going to take that key, and we're going to add it after the S in our argument here. And then after that, what we're going to do is add the APK path right to it. And this is going to be a string, so we're going to wrap that in quotes. So in my case, it's going to be e:, builds op / op.apk. And then we're going to put the channel. So in this case, there's a bunch of different upload channels that you can work with. Let's see if I can show this to you quickly. I'll go to Manage Builds, and then we'll go to Release Channels. And so from the release channels, let's see where it's at. Gotta find it. It's in here somewhere. APK, nope. Manage Builds, Builds. Oh, sorry, there's no build yet to manage. We'll be back here in a moment. But yeah, from here we're specifying where it's going to go. In this case, we're going to put it in the alpha channel. There's a few different channels. Alpha is the first place any of your builds should go. So alpha, just type that out, and then -n. This is going to be a note about the build you're pushing. So in this case, hello new world. This is what we're going to put for our note. Alright, so with all that done, I'm going to put this on word wrap so you can see it a little better. Toggle word wrap, it's in here somewhere, I swear. I don't really use word wrap that much. There it is. Alright, cool. So, we'll take this, and we're going to cut and paste it here. And if it works, it'll start uploading the game. If it doesn't, we'll fix it. Okay, so it says no command given for this. Oculus Platform Utility, no command given. Let me check my notes real quick. So we got build, we got -a. So then after that we've got, oh excuse me, I missed something really obvious right here. The first argument you give this thing is upload gear build. If you're doing Rift, this syntax is a little different. This is probably Rift right here. Don't quote me on that, but check the docs. But anyway, there we go. See? Probably gonna be an easy fix right there. Alright, so that looks like it's working. The first thing you'll see is the prepare for upload comes up, and now it's going to take your project and push it on up to the server. After it does this, it's going to do some checking automatically, and if you've got any kind of issues with your Android manifest file, this is where they're going to come out, and it'll bounce back and basically say like check this, check that, give you a bunch of different options to check. So this is good to run early, just to know that it's going to get through. So this will take a minute to record, to upload. Okay, so then it verifies there. I'll let that go for a second. Preparing something on the right here. Alright, so in our case, this build went through first time, so that's fantastic. It'll give you that create build ID at the bottom if everything works. If you see anything else, then that's time to like ask some questions about what kind of errors you're getting to get that sorted out. Took me a few attempts to get this right. So, alright, so that's build 1. Congratulations if you got that to work. That's awesome. Part 2 of this thing is after you've done it once, let's say you run that command again and you go to update and it pushes to the server and you think it's gonna work because you've updated your game. But the trick to it is you have to manage the different versions of the game. Every time you push it up to the server, it wants a different version number. So we're going to cover that in just a moment once we see this message. Okay, so error. An APK with this package name and version code already exists. The way to get around this one, or to do it correctly rather, is to go into player settings. And this took me a while to figure out. I had to ask for help. Thank you. So version 2, but also decrement the bundle version code. Make sure you do both of these things. Once you have that done, then you can export or save projects. I save project. I don't know whether you have to or not, but I do. And then build. And then we're going to save right over the other one. And now this is going to export. And so here we are. We're going to wait for this part for just a second. Should be a little quicker this time. Now we haven't actually changed anything with the game yet. You could add some blocks to it. You could shuffle it around a little bit. But what's nice about this uploader too is it's going to basically look at the difference in the files and push the difference up. So it'll save a lot of time. Okay, so once that's finished, now if we went over here and we tried to upload this just as it is with Oculus, you're going to see it. It'll look at this, it'll upload. And this is where we're going to get a message. Sorry, I can't pause these videos while I'm recording. I totally would. But my setup's not cool enough yet. I'm working on it. I just switched to using OBS recorder, which is pretty cool. It's free. Nice. Used for casting mostly. Okay, upload. Part 1's done. Now we're uploading just what we exported from Unity. Let's see what we got. Okay, this is the error I was talking about. Let's say you export right from Unity 2016 and try to upload to Oculus. You'll get this message by using the built-in, what do they call it? Publishing settings here by the keys. Yes, here. So if you were to create a key here and you get that message, that's why. This is why we did the whole key tool jar route. So keep that in mind if you get this message and you're wondering. That means the next step is you got to jar sign your file again. So we're taking the file that we've typed all this stuff into and we're cutting and pasting it right back into command line. We're going to type in the password, which is slightly tedious but not too bad. Okay, so that looks good. We got that warning. Again, not 100% sure it matters. Maybe we can get that in the comments if anybody knows. So once that's done, now that it's been signed, then we're going to upload it again. And keep in mind we've changed the version of it in Unity so that now when we push to it, and notice it's going a lot faster than it did in the first push, it'll be able to look at that version update and it won't bounce back saying invalid version, or excuse me, duplicate version. So once this is done, we've got one more thing we're going to set up just to make our lives even easier. Okay, so that looks good. Now if we come over to here to the dashboard page, and we scroll down, we'll see these channels have appeared. We've got Alpha, Beta, RC, and Store. Now Alpha is a good place for your first build to go because it's, you know, your first try at this thing, it's Alpha, that's the right appropriate spot for it. Just briefly to touch on it, if you want to share this build with anybody, you can then click on this spot here where it says users and then put in their Oculus registered email address. So sometimes this might be the email address you use to register for Facebook. So once you've invited somebody on there, like let's invite me for example, it's going to take that and then shoot off basically a link to their email. It'll say, do you accept this invitation to view this product? And they click yes. And then that's going to show up in their Oculus list of apps under the, I think it's called the preview section. So really nice way to share stuff. So anyway, back to the point is now we have this one build here at version 2. All that's looking good. The last thing to do is just to kind of stitch all this together so we don't have to type in all that stuff every time. And the way to do that on Windows anyway is to create a bat file. So here's what we do. I've created a separate folder just for bats because I'm going to do this a lot for each of the titles. I'm going to push up to Oculus to have a nice little bat file. So in this case, I'm going to create a file. We're going to call this op, it's called ship op.bat. And then I'm going to open that in the code editor. And here we have it. So the trick to this one is we're going to take the commands that we already typed out and forged so carefully. Put on word wrap. Well, I'm going to leave word wrap off. So the first line would be this jar sign thing. Now the thing to note here is the way we've typed it in, we used an absolute path to refer to the key's location. So this is good for building a bat file in this case. The second line of this thing is where we then sign the file. Now notice we've typed in our secret in this file. This is the exact same line that we had just a minute ago. We've cut and pasted into a bat file. So with these two pieces of things together, we're going to save the bat file just as it is. Nothing special to it, really. And then we'll do a test. So now if I type in ship op.bat, it's going to say, oh, okay, great. But then it stops at the password. I type the password in. And then it goes, and then it continues on like that. Then it kicks off the next command and uploads to Oculus. So we haven't typed anything in, but just to make it just like a little bit sweeter, we're going to just put in this kind of old school, it's not really a hack really, it's just another way of phrasing things. But if you go to the beginning of, if you go to the beginning of this line here, the beginning of our jar line for jar sig, you put in echo, and then put your password in here, and then put the pipe symbol. And don't put any spaces between password, pipe, and then jar. Leave that all stacked together. Go ahead and save that, clear this out, and then run it one more time. So ship op, and now it's going to pass that password right to the command line. Not a great thing if you're doing videos perhaps to show this, but for your own personal work, maybe there's a way to suppress echo. But in this case, we're all friends. I'm going to delete all this anyway, so there you have it, password in plain sight. But if you pass the password in on that basically same line there in the bat file, you can make it so all you have to do is type in ship space the name of the product that gets pushed. You can see we're getting an error because we haven't decremented the package version, but if we did and re-exported, it'd work just fine. So just for the sake of completing things, whatever the word is for it, for the sake of getting her done, we're going to go down to this and change that to a different version. We're going to change that to a different version. Save the project, and then we're going to build it one more time. We're going right over the old file with this one, saving that. And so once this is done exporting, it's going to have a new version of it, and then we've got our cool bat file ready to go. So from here on the command line, I just leave the command line open when I'm working sometimes, but instead of having to remember all those commands, we've got the bat file. So the bat file is ready. There it goes, it's exported, bat file. Go. And now it's pushing up to Oculus. Note we have version 02 here. So we'll let that run for a minute. I think you all know the exciting conclusion of this is going to be it gets uploaded to the channel. And we didn't really have to do a whole lot. We exported from Unity and we ran the bat file. And the bat file really does all that heavy lifting for us at this point. If you wanted to ship it to a different channel, you can update the bat file. That's certainly an option. Over here where it says, I'm going to say alpha. Yeah, line 2 where it says alpha, you change this to like beta, for example, or RC, or store. And, that's one way of going about it. Please sign your APK in release mode, then submit. That's an interesting error because we did the jar sign over here. Jar sign. Invalid entry compressed size. That is interesting. So if we ran just this, let's run just that command here. And run that. So this is asking for a password. We're re-signing it now to get some feedback here. And it says unable to sign jar. Invalid entry size, compressed or zip. Maybe you'll see this error. This is a very annoying error. Now, one way to get rid of this is do this, for example. OP I'm going to get rid of everything in this file right here. So that was our APK version of it. There's our APK sig. We'll go back into this project here. Go back to player settings. Go to the very bottom of publishing settings. Now see right here, this should say use keystore. This should be a browse to your keystore. Now why mine just reset? I don't know. Maybe this will happen to you, maybe it won't. So basically I'm going back to my key now. And so this is under builds for me. And then under the builds folder we go to the keystore. And then the OP key. So that's in place. Then it asks for the password, which is already cached. So I'll just type it again. Password. And then where it says debug down here, switch that back to OP. I'm going to type in the password, again, just for good measure. So all that's in place. That all looks good. Go ahead and save the project again. Things are looking pretty good. We're going to rebuild it like so. APK, save. So it's going to export the file. And so I'm not 100% sure why this happens. I think maybe what happened there, like that error is we signed it with the unsigned certificate, and then when we ran the jar signer, it was saying no, this isn't going to work out. I'm a little foggy on the details there. But once that's done and re-export it again, we go back to our command line. We're going to run that jar file again, just like this, without running the bat file, just so we can look and make sure it's working. So now you can see it is signing stuff. Things are looking correct. If you ran this command again, like so, it'll continue to work. So, you know, I don't know what to make of that necessarily. So if that's working, I think that means our bat script is going to work again now that we've fixed the problem with the signature. You know, it was on one thing, so we had to go back and set it to another. So as one final little test here, now that we've solved, it feels like most of the problems. Let's go to the bats folder. Bats? Yeah, bats. And then we'll run ship op.bat. Automatic password went in, signing just happened. There it is logging into Oculus. It's pushing the app ID, the secret, the APK file that's been signed for 2017, goes through validation, then it does the diff essentially, and it sees like what file pieces are different and uploads the different ones. In our case, it's the same thing, so it's going to go pretty darn quick. And then once it's done that, it goes through one more layer, goes to the CDN, and there we have it, created build. And so now if we look at our dashboard, just for super verification, we've got V2 down there. Let's reload this. And now, actually it reloaded quickly by itself. That was cool. So V4, we've got that. That's looking really good. And now what happens too is anybody who's subscribed to this will get an update notification in their Oculus app. It's really a very nice end-to-end process. So there you go. Hopefully this is more than enough information for you to get started with the Oculus command line utility for Unity 5.6 or Unity 2017. I might have said 16 a few times. Anyway, hopefully this will get you through some of the hiccups that I got through. We've seen most of them. If you get Android-specific manifest stuff, that usually has to do with either an extra Android file that's in a plugin somewhere, or there's some kind of conflict there, usually deleting the Android manifest files you have in the plugins folder, and then reusing this tool up here, the Oculus, where is it? Create store compatible Android manifest file. That'll create another one for you, and that's also in the Oculus platform tools. So yeah, good luck out there. Hopefully this becomes just like easy breezy for you. You get this all set up, and then you can push builds without worrying about it, and you can spend more time creating content. So hey, thanks a lot, and good luck everybody.